Harsh has joined the meeting. Now his name is coming that he has joined the meeting. Room is open, it's not locked. So Taylor is also known as the father of scientific management. He was the founder of scientific management. He started the scientific management. And his birthplace was USA. And he was an engineer, mechanical engineer. He gave us a lot of scientific management principles and techniques. He has given us four principles and then techniques also he has given. This was his biography, and this may be asked in MCQs, but otherwise it is not very important. Now, coming to the principle straight away. Meaning of scientific management. Scientific management performs means performing the business activities in the most scientific manner. What Taylor believed that when we are carrying out our business activities, when managers are doing the business, that can be done on the basis of scientific management. The principles which we have made are based on science. They are not based on hit and trial method, or they are not based on anything which we have done by our own thinking. They are based on science. So he has given us four principles of management. The first principle of management is science, not rule of thumb. Rule of thumb means that something that we are just experimenting, that it may happen, it may not happen. Let's do it, trial and error method, hit and miss technique. करके देख लेते हैं, हो जाता है तो ठीक है, नहीं हो जाता है तो ठीक है. This is not the case in the scientific management. What Taylor said that we must use science when we are doing business. Rule of thumb means doing something just because others have been doing it. But what Taylor said that Taylor suggested complete removal of thumb rule, which was a traditional and outdated method based on intuition. That I'm intuiting something, I'm feeling like this, my heart says this, trial and error method, and hit and miss technique. He favored scientific inquiry and analysis and understanding. That we must work on the workers, we must experiment on the workers, and whatever the results we are getting, on the basis of those results, we must work. According to him, guesswork, intuition, etc., should not play any role in the decision making process. Taylor insisted on finding various alternatives, their pros and cons, that what are the positive outcomes of this thing, what are the negative outcomes of if we behave like this, benefits likely to be achieved from such alternatives, comparing them and finding the best method which could help in the optimum utilization of resources. Example is most of the organizations and individuals are taking the help of internet banking for transferring money instead of using checks drafts, finding the required information or material on Google, Yahoo search engines instead of finding the material from the libraries and other sources, sending emails instead of using post, and teaching through multimedia, webcams instead of physical presence, and so on. So this is what that earlier we used to use these things, but what they are doing is they are using alternatives and finding out the results. That is it better? Is internet banking better? Is it better to send email rather than sending through post and courier? So this is what this is, using science, not rule of thumb. Rule of thumb means that something which we are just intuiting. We have an intuition that this may happen. We are trying this. We are trying to see if it will work or not. So Taylor insisted that we should rule out this method where rule of thumb must not be followed, and he insisted on using scientific methods. Then the second principle he gave to us was harmony, not discord. Harmony, not discord is in relation to the management and the workers. Taylor said that there must be complete harmony, complete harmonious relationship, good relationships between the workers and the management. Earlier, what the management used to think that workers don't want to do work, they shirk responsibility, they are not ready to work, they are hesitant to work. But Taylor insisted that there should be and workers used to think that they are They want us to work more and more and they don't want to pay us money. This was the thinking pattern of the workers and the management. But Taylor insisted that there should be a complete mental revolution, change in the thinking pattern of workers and management, that they should develop harmonious relationship among themselves and they should feel that they are a part of the organization. So workers should work with happiness for the organization and management should also think that workers are a part of the organization, so there should be good relation between them. So harmony not discord means harmony refers to an agreement in feeling or opinion, and discord refers to tension or strife resulting from lack of agreement. So there should be good relations between both of them. All the people involved in a work must work in harmony with one another rather than in discord. That when we are working together, we must, that way all the people involved in a group must, Shreya, please don't keep on sending messages. Let me focus on the teaching part. And you also focus here. All the people involved in a group must work in harmony with one another rather than in discord. Managers work as a link between workers and owners. Since they have to get the work done, there is always such possibility for conflicts to arise. Such conflicts benefit none. Conflicts benefit none. And all of them need to transform their thinking. They need to transform their thinking. Here we are talking about mental revolution. There can be a 1 mark question based on mental revolution, and there can be MCQ as well. This principle is based on Fayol's principle Esprit de Corps. In Esprit de Corps also we discussed about team spirit, unity, strength, and here Taylor is also suggesting that there should be harmony, not discord. That this is, they have shown us that this is the management, on the management part and on the worker part. Management is giving bonus to the employee and both of them are smiling. There is good relationship between both the workers and the management. Sharing of gains between management and workers leads to complete harmony, that we are giving share in the profit to the worker. Taylor suggested a scientific technique named mental revolution for this purpose, where owners should share gains with workers and workers should work with discipline and loyalty. Management is taking care of the workers, management is giving them share in the profit, and in the same way, workers are also taking care of the management and workers are working with discipline and loyalty. Prosperity of the employers cannot survive for a longer period of time unless it is accompanied with the prosperity of employees and vice versa. Because in business, we look for long term goals. In our life, also, we look for long term goals. So, if we want to remain in the business for long term, both of them should take care of each other. Example is in Japan, there is complete openness between the employers and employees. If the workers go on strike, they wear black badges, should show their protest and do more work than the normal hours to gain sympathy of the management. So in Japan, what they are doing is that when the work, here in India, what happens is that when workers go on strike, they shut the factory and they sit outside the factory, they sit on the arnas and they are not working at all. But in Japan, what they do is when they go on strike, they wear black badges and they work more than the normal days. So that management gives sympathy to them, management listens to them. This is because they want to they want harmony and they don't want discord. Then the third point is cooperation, not individualism. Cooperation, not individualism. This is an extension of harmony and not discord. The second point, which we have just discussed, harmony, not discord. Cooperation, not individualism, is an extension of that principle only. In cooperation, not individualism, what they suggest is that all individuals should work in cooperation with one another. In order to bring cooperation among the workers, managers must involve them in their suggestions at the time of setting standards. We want that the people working in the organization are cooperating with each other. And while we are making decisions, what we are doing is we are taking suggestions from the workers, we are taking Decisions when we have kept the workers in confidence. We have not taken the decision without consulting the workers. We are consulting the workers, we are letting them know, we are asking for their suggestions, and then we are making decisions and policies. And in organization, what we are promoting is, instead of competition, that each employee is competing with another one, that I want to show my result best than the other person. What we are developing is, we are developing cooperation, that all the employees need to cooperate with each other. For example, in school, if one teacher is competing with the another, that I want to show my result better, no, what the management is promoting, that the staff must cooperate with each other. All the teachers must work together for the benefit of the students. In that way only there will be good working conditions. So, cooperation, not individualism, says that this principle is the extension of the principle of harmony, not discord. All the workers should work, all the individuals should work with cooperation with one another, and the decisions must be taken taking the workers in confidence, and competition should be replaced with cooperation. Then development of, fourth principle is development of each and every person to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. The fifth point which they have given in this book is not there in Subhash Day. Just a second. Yes, they have given us in this book of R.K. Mahajan, 15 points are there. Oh, 5 points are there, but in Subhash Day, 4 points are there. So don't just get confused regarding this. 5 points can be there or 4 points can be there. This is also their maximum not restricted output. But as far as our course is concerned, we are just restricted to these four. Development of each and every person to his greatest efficiency and prosperity. Industrial efficiency depends upon the efficiency of workers. Workers' efficiency depends upon their proper training, development, and selection. This proper training, development, and selection we will be studying in the fourth function also directly. So, what Taylor has told us is that when a worker is working in the organization and we are giving him proper training, so a trained person will be able to give more efficient work to the organization rather than a person who has not received training. So Taylor said that each and every person must be trained to his and his greatest efficiency. That is, to he must give his best to the organization. If we give him training, development, and selection, that we are selecting the employees who are appropriate for that job, in that case he will be able to give us more. Taylor insisted that due care should be taken for selecting the employees, that we are selecting the right employee. The employee who is most suited to that job, we are selecting that employee. And after selection, they must be given jobs according to their classification. That we have selected the physics teacher, we have selected the best physics teacher, and then we are giving him only physics to teach. We are not giving him that you teach science altogether, you teach chemistry also, you teach biology also. No, they must be given jobs according to their classification, according to their qualification, as well as physical, mental, and intellectual capabilities. Employees must be sent for training from time to time to update their knowledge. That every time the business environment is changing, so according to the business environment, they must be given training from time to time so that they're updating their knowledge. At this point of time, I'm reminded of that story, that when a woodcutter is cutting the trees all the time, so he has an axe with him, and what he is doing is that when he is cutting trees day after day, he is able to cut less trees than before. So more effort is there and results are less. But the other woodcutter is there who is able to do the work very efficiently. Why? Because he is sharpening his axe every day. So this is what is given to us, is that when we are working, With the passage of time, our knowledge gets a little bit out of touch. So we are given training from time to time to update our knowledge. For example, in accountancy, changes keep on coming. So we get such messages there are workshops on the changes in syllabus. Then there are workshops on how to use this smart board. All these workshops are there to give us training to update our knowledge so that we can give our best, so that as an individual we can perform to our best. This will ensure increased efficiency and prosperity for both company and workers. Workers training is essential to learn the best method developed as a consequence of scientific approach. Nowadays, most of the companies are sending their employees for higher education, research, seminars, workshops, training sessions, etc., so that they can equip themselves according to the dynamic environment, according to the changing environment. Such activities enhance their morale, confidence level, their market value, capabilities, and make them ready to face any sort of challenge. For example, in our school also, what is happening is that now this lockdown has come. So all of us, it is not like a training given to us, but all of us came together and learned this technique. So it has upgraded us also, that we have learned something new, that how online teaching can be done. And now we have learned how to make this online test also. So we have developed as an individual. So these are the four principles given to us by Taylor. What are those? I'm repeating that. Taylor is scientific management by F.W. Taylor. The first principle he has given to us is science, not rule of thumb. Rule of thumb means doing something just because others have been doing it. It is like hit and trial method, intuition, with all these things we are working. But Taylor said that there should be complete removal of thumb rule, which was a traditional and outdated method, and he favored scientific inquiry, analysis, and understanding. Right? Then harmony, not discord. Second principle. Harmony, not discord means that there should be harmonious relationships, good relationship between workers and management. Management should share the profits with the workers, and the workers should work with loyalty and devotion for the organization. Then the third principle, the example they have given to us in this case is like in Japan. In India, what used to happen is that when workers are going on strike, they shut the factory and they sit outside the factories on dharnas and they are not working at all, so that the management listens to us. But in Japan, they follow the principle of harmony, not discord. So in Japan, what they are doing is when they go on strike, they wear black badges and they work more than the normal working hours, so that they are gaining the sympathy of the management, and management is listening to them, and management is taking care of them. So in the strike, they are not stopping their work, they are working even more than the normal hours. And then the third principle given to us by Taylor is cooperation, not individualism. This is just an extension of the second principle we have studied, harmony, not discord. What they are saying is that in an organization, all the individuals must cooperate with one another. There must not be a feeling of competition. There must be a feeling of cooperation, so that there are good working conditions in the organization and people are giving their best for to the organization. And the fourth which we have studied is just now, that is development of each and every person to his greatest efficiency and prosperity. That is, we are selecting the employee who is most appropriate for the job, and then we are giving him proper training from time to time, and we are developing that employee so that that employee is giving his or her best to the organization. This is the development of that particular employee. So in an organization, all the employees must be developed so that they can give their best to the organization. These are the five principles of scientific management. Apart from the principles of management, scientific management, Taylor has also given us techniques of scientific management. And when the question comes to you, be clear in your mind what the question is asking. If the question is asking about principles, then write about principles. And if the question is asking about techniques, then explain about techniques. So be careful whether techniques have been asked in the question or principles have been asked in the question. Now, techniques of scientific management. Taylor has given us the principles. Now, Taylor said that to carry out these principles, to apply these principles in practical life, we need to follow some techniques. How to apply these principles in practical life? We need to follow five techniques. Five techniques he has given to us. The first technique given to us by Taylor is functional foremanship. In functional foremanship, what Taylor said that all the work, it is a little bit related to division of work, which we studied in Fayol's Principles of Management. So, in functional foremanship, he told us that the work must be divided into two parts: planning and execution. There must be a planning in charge and a production in charge. And under planning in charge, that planning in charge will be looking after all the planning work, and the production in charge will be looking at the factory work, that how the work is done in the factory. This functional foremanship is a technique which is for the shop floor level, for the factory. Functional foremanship, yes. Functional foremanship, he has told us, is Taylor in Subhash Day, five techniques have been given to us. Mental revolution, they have not given to us. So, in this book, they have given us six techniques. It is a little bit, slight differences are coming from book to book. So, if you are following other books and you are observing that only five techniques are given to us, that is also fine. We will be doing these five techniques only. But questions related to mental revolution are also asked. They are in Subhash Day at the back pages, where the questions and answers both are given. Now, functional foremanship. Taylor felt that planning for factory operations and implementing plans should be held by different groups of people. That means planning of the factory work must be done by different people, and then implementing those plans, that how to carry out those plans, must be done by different people. So there must be a flow chart they have given us. Yes, there it is. What they have told us that in the factory, work, all the work is there, all the work must be divided into two parts. Planning in charge must be there and production in charge must be there. The planning in charge must do all the mental work, and all the physical work is under the production in charge. This planning in charge, there is a factory manager, and then he have appointed a planning in charge, he has appointed a production in charge. And what the under the planning in charge also, there are four people working. What these four people are doing, the first is the route clerk. What the route clerk is doing is specifying the route of production. He is telling the workers that what you need to do, what to be produced first, and then what you will be doing. So he is giving the route of production, specifying the route of production. And then there is instruction card clerk. What the instruction card clerk is doing, he is drafting instructions for the workers. He is giving, he is planning about what instructions we will be giving to the workers. Then there is time and cost clerk. What the time and cost clerk is doing is, he is preparing time and cost sheet, that this work must be done in this much time, this much should be the cost involved. So that is the work of the time and cost clerk. He is doing all this mental work. Then there is disciplinarian. Disciplinarian is the person who will be looking after the discipline of the workers, that the workers should work in a disciplined way. Now here one more thing I want to add is that in Fayol we had unity of command. In unity of command, what they were saying is that workers, that every worker should receive order from one boss only. Dual subordination must be avoided. But here what is happening in this technique of scientific management by Taylor is that a worker is receiving orders, he is working under eight bosses, he is working under eight superiors. Worker is there, and this is eight people are over him. So it is just goes against the Unity of command. So there can be a 1 mark question in which you can be asked which is that principle of the FAOL, principles of management, which is the principle of FAOL that violates with functional foremanship. Then you will be giving the answer unity of command. Or the question can be vice versa, that functional foremanship violates which principle of FAOL. Then the answer will be unity of command. So there is they are totally opposite, contradictory. It is contradicting unity of command. So now coming to production in charge. In production in charge, again, four people are working under production in charge. What these four people are doing is, one is the speed boss. What the speed boss is doing, timely and accurate completion of job. He is observing whether the workers are completing the work on time or not, and they are doing it the work correctly or not. That is the work of the speed boss. And then we have gang boss. What the gang boss is doing, keeping machines and tools etc. ready for operation by workers. Workers are coming to the factory. Gang boss is taking care that even before the workers are coming to the factory, everything is ready or not. Machines are there or not, tools are there or not for the workers, so that there is no wastage of time. Workers are coming, everything is ready, and then they are working. Then repair boss is there. Repair boss is ensuring proper working condition of machines and tools. Repair boss is just checking whether every machine is in proper working condition. Is it appropriate for the worker to work on? For example, if there is a tailoring shop or workers are sewing something, they will check whether the sewing machine is working or not, right? And if it needs any repair, that will be done by the repair boss. And then the last one is the inspector. Inspector is checking the quality of the work. Inspector checks that whatever the worker has produced, that is according to the planned one which we have planned, that the actual output is according to the that is the actual output which is coming is according to the planned output or not. So functional foremanship is that according to the functions we have divided the people, we have divided the work. Functional foremanship is an extension of the principle of division of work and specialization to the shop floor level of a factory. That is, it is working at the factory. Functional foremanship is a technique which aims to improve the quality of supervision at shop floor by putting a worker under 8 specialist foreman. Right? 8 specialist foreman. A worker is working under 8 specialists. And what we have done is, in this technique, planning is separated from execution so that foreman under planning in charge may concentrate on planning the job of workers, and the foreman under production in charge may involve themselves in execution of job. Taylor suggested 4 foremen for planning and 4 foremen for production. And under those also we have discussed in detail what these people are doing. Clear about functional foremanship? Now moving on to simplification of work. What happens in the simplification and standardization of work? Yes, Kaveri. Okay, thank you. Now in this book what they have done is they have explained it separately. Simplification of work they have explained separately, and standardization of work they have explained separately in the third point. But when you will be learning it from Subhash Day, both these points are combined in Subhash Day: standardization and simplification of work. And this is the third point, work study in Subhash Day. And then they have a differential piece wage rate system as the fourth point. So now coming on to simplification of work. What do we mean by simplification of work? Simplification of work means that eliminating unnecessary diversity of products. It results in saving of cost of labor, machines and tools. It implies reduced inventories, fuller utilization of equipment and increasing turnover. That we are not working in different product lines, that we are making detergent also, we are making soap also, we are making shampoo also. So different product lines we are making, that we Samsung is making TV also, Samsung is making washing machine also, and Samsung is making phones also. So, what is this? That they have diversified into a lot of things. But simplification means that we have not diversified. We are just focused towards one line and we are focusing on that, and our work is simplified. So, simplification of work means that simplification refers to elimination of superfluous, unwanted sizes, varieties, dimensions, and diversity of products. It is a process of product analysis through which a limited number of grades, types, and sizes of products are related to facilitate standardization. Both simplification and standardization are interrelated. So, simplification means that we are eliminating, we are removing unnecessary diversity of products, we are simplifying the work, and we are focusing on less line of products. For simplification process, many researchers were made to find unnecessary and unwanted movements. The researches in US and different manufacturing units led to marvelous results. Example 1, variety of papers was reduced from 2000 to 200. Earlier there was a lot of variety of papers, that this is this type of paper, this is ruled paper, this is handmade sheet, this is this kind of paper. So they have removed all that, and 1800 types they have removed variety and they came to 200 for simplifying the work. Example 2 is grinding wheels were reduced from this. Third is a fruit manufacturing company reduced variety from 200 to 32. They are making fruits, and from 200 fruits variety they have come to 32. So what are the benefits of simplification of work are? It avoids unnecessary movements at the actual workplace. Unnecessary movements are avoided. It reduces the cost of labor. We need not hire different kinds of labor, different skilled labor. We have simplified the work. We are not making that much of variety, so only a particular type of labor is working for us. We are not hiring different artisans for different work. Machines and tools as well as increases the saving. We are not buying different kinds of machines, we are not buying different kinds of tools, so it is reducing our cost and it is increasing our savings. Reduces excess holding of stock. Different variety I have produced. For example, once had just told me about these different varieties of shoes. So if we are producing different varieties, then we need to keep their stock also. Then it will result in that I'm storing, that I'm keeping all those varieties, and then I'm showing it to the customer. It is only increasing my work and nothing else. And now coming to standardization of work. Standardization of work is very much related to simplification. It is followed after simplification. Standardization refers to the process of setting standards for every business activity. Standardization of process, that we have made that this work will be done in this way only. Raw material, only this type of raw material we will be purchasing. Time, that that an average employee will be able to, a worker will be able to make this product in this particular time. ये काम होने में इतना टाइम लगता है. For example, we have decided a standard for you that for an exam of 80 marks, 3 hours is the standard time we have fixed. Right? So in this way, in business also, what Taylor is saying, that we have fixed standards for everything, that this is the time the worker should take, this is the type of raw material we will be purchasing, this is the method we will be using, this type of machine we will be using, these are the working conditions. So we have made standards for everything. Like when we go to purchase shirts, ready-made shirts and ready-made trousers, so they have made this standard that this is for 20, this is for 32 ways, this is for 34 ways, 30 ways. So they have made the standard, right?